Hello and welcome back to the Motorsport MSBaithak podcast. I'm your host GD, and joining me today once again is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we'll be talking about the insane GMR Grand Prix in Indianapolis. So let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready your opinions, and dive right into the conversation. Hello Vedant. That race on Saturday was dry, then it was wet, then it was wet and dry at the same time, and then it was dry, and then it was wet again. I don't think I've seen the weather, like the track conditions, change so frequently over the course of a race in any racing series over the last couple of years. Um, we've had a few rain races, rain affected races in Formula One that have been pretty crazy, but nothing like what we saw in IndyCar this weekend. What were your thoughts, and how much did you enjoy the Grand Prix this Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I never knew. I never like. I have watched a limited number of IndyCar races, but I have followed IndyCar for a odd couple of years, right? But I have never heard of a wet or even a mixed weather IndyCar race. And yesterday, the Saturday's race was my full first race watching the entire race in IndyCar, and it was like, if you had one race to watch from start to the end, it could not have been a better choice, right? It was absolutely scintillating race. And yeah, even though it started at what, again, 12:30 something, 1:30 something, and it ended at 3:30 a.m. in India, it was still as energetic as when it ended as when it started.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought the race slowed down a little bit, especially when towards the end for the last 40 45 minutes. But overall, it was still entertainment. There was still so much going on. So let's talk about it. And obviously, the biggest headline this weekend was Colton Herta gets the win he deserves, according to the people. But I feel Um, Colton delivered what is expected from him more than what he deserved. I feel that he left a lot on the table, but that might be just from the fact that he was being a little bit more cautious. But obviously, the standout moment of the weekend was when Colton Herta saved it behind Pato Award on lap 4 or 5. I think in the first few corners, and that drift that he did in that IndyCar, I think he's the only other person that I've seen do such a long sideways drift in an open wheel racing car besides Kimi Raikkonen. Kimi is the only last person I can think of who pulled off such a stunt like Colton did on track. But that was just scintillating, and that just goes to show the amount of car control this man has.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said, Colton Herta delivered what was expected of him, and a race. I mean, he won his first race and of the season, his first race win of the season. But I think most importantly, it was Honda's first race win of the season. And I mean, the way things are looking so far, Chevrolet were the better engine because of the upgrade that they brought in for this season. And who knows what could have happened had it been a dry race. But it's a great win for Honda, great win for Andretti, and definitely a very big confidence boost for Colton Herta, who was feeling quite under the weather or something for the past few races. He has had some incidents throughout the season so far, and to win a race in that fashion, to control that car in such fashion, is, I mean, it can only boost your confidence. Even if you finish second, it can only boost your confidence.
Yeah, and you have to give it to Brian Herter too, who was calling the strategy for his son Colton Herta, and I think obviously the fact that Colton kept his nose clean for the entirety of the race uh, got him the win. But what put him in that position to get the win was the strategy call that they made on lap 3 to pit before anyone else did for the slick tires, and that made all the difference in the world. Obviously, Colton Herta moved up to pole position, and then Pato Ward did jump him, but he didn't have heat in his tires after pitting a lap after Colton. and that I think the first 10 laps were the most exciting in the race. And I feel it was a race of attrition for most except Colton.
Yeah.
Everybody was making mistakes left and right,
Yeah.
whereas Colton, once he got into the lead, it was pretty straight up for him. Not to say that he didn't make a couple, smaller mistakes, but he was able to recover from them much easier than some of the others who did finish in the points after having a rough race, but helped by the multiple safety cars and yellow flags that we had throughout the course of 2 hours. But looking ahead, obviously we're going to, like you said, Chevy has dominated all dry races so far this season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going into the Indy 500. We have the qualifying next weekend, and then obviously the Indy 500 two weeks from now. But talking about probably who could have been, the championship leader after this race, even if he had finished second, and that is Pato Award. Heartbreak from that, big heartbreak for him. And not just for him, he also spoiled his teammates' race
Yep.
in an attempt to pull off the absolutely incredible or insane. It's and it's funny that Pato Ward is driving for McLaren because what it reminded me straight away was what Lando Norris tried to do in Russia last year, and had the same outcome as to what basically Pato Ward had.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, both the McLarens in the top six in qualifying, so their streak and their qualifying pace is still there. So that is good news for, especially for Pato Award because he's potentially a championship contender, but more so for Felix Rosenquist because those qualifying performances keep him in the front of the field for much of the race eventually and help him score some points, and he has some points to make for that contract extension, right? But yeah, I think that strategy call to not pit for vets in the end of the race definitely cost Pato Ward a lot of points because even if he had pitted, let's say a few laps later, to like reacting to everyone else much later, he could still have made up some places or at least stayed in a decent position. But making that pit stop so late in the race just to finish the race was not like just as Lando Norris did in Sochi last year. It cost him dearly.
And it comes back to the same debate, and by that I don't mean the hindsight debate, but it's about where your car is, where you are in the championship. I'm looking at the big picture, and is it better to take home 40 points that are guaranteed if you um, do what the crowd is doing, or would you rather risk it for the extra 10, 15 points that you might have at the end of the weekend?
Right.
Um, and I mean it's not about the risk appetite, but it's just about looking at the bigger picture for me. Yes, if it was the second last race of the season and the points gap was just big enough for them to have a great advantage or catch up to the championship leader, that would be understandable. But definitely not the best decision from the pit wall, at McLaren. But we have to talk about a few other great performances, races of attrition that we saw this weekend. Marcus Ericsson, Callum Ilott, Christian Lundgaard, Simon Pagano, and Connor Daly. Everybody had some sort of trouble at some point in the race, I believe. But they all came through and they all finished the race, kept it together, did not lose their cool. And we also have to mention JP Montoya nearly, getting some great points in what was just a warm-up race for him before the Indy 500. Except that he crashed out after,
Yeah.
even though he was running in the top 10 towards the end of the race. All he had to do was, make it to the last and second last yellow flag, and then it would have been smooth sailing for him. But unfortunately, but regardless, bring it back to Marcus Ericsson, Callum Ilott, Christian Lundgaard, Pagano, and Connor Daly. Um, Again, just goes to show that in such races, just keeping it on track is about enough, and not to worry about anything. I think Marcus Ericsson had a early shunt or something with someone. He had an early crash and then he had to pit. He was off strategy at the start of the race. Callum Ilott and Christian Lundgaard did not have a clean race at all. Both of them went off into the grass multiple times. I don't remember Simon Pageant on Conor Daly's race that much, but obviously the big stat coming out of that was that Conor Daly scored his first top five finish since 2017, which is insane to think about in IndyCar.
Yeah, I mean, Connor Daly definitely made the comeback of, you know, his career basically, because his best results since 2017 and 2022. It's a long time. But Simon Pagano finished second after starting what 20th or something, and Marcus Ericsson finished fourth after spending a lot of time in the pits to make repairs. So that was, I mean, those are the those are the two performances, and it only helps. It only helps if there is a wet mixed weather race with multiple cautions, multiple yellow, full course yellows, and safety cars, things like that. But I think for us, for basically Formula One fans and Formula One ladder fans, I think it's great to see Christian Lungard and Callum Ilott, breaking out of that mold, and especially Callum Ilott in that smaller team, the I think Mesh,
Junkos Hollinger Racing.
Junkos Hollinger Racing, sorry. So to see those two drivers score, qualify well, and then score well, P8 and P9 at the end of the day, in such a troublesome race, because like since we have not seen a wet IndyCar race, they have never driven in a wet IndyCar race, and let alone a race, not even in a wet IndyCar session, right? So to see them perform was great.
I think the one in Alabama they had a wet session. I think, but that was about it.
Yeah,
I
maybe,
think a couple
maybe.
weeks ago. But regardless, I understand what you're saying. But let's talk about Will Power, the championship leader by 14 points, I believe. Yes, championship leader by 14 points. This man has finished, I believe, in the top five for all five races so far, scoring an average of about 33 points, 33, 34 points, and that just goes to show why Alex Pillow was the championship, won the championship last year, and why Will Power, who is the new Mr. Temperament, as people are calling him, is probably the front runner favorite for the championship this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, qualifying on pole and finishing what P3, that in such a race, that's the best. I mean, obviously the best you could do was win it, but still P3 is the best result, is a great result, right? And that consistency is definitely key in a series like IndyCar, where Colton Herta is winning a race and then crashing out or not scoring points in the other and something like that. And as we saw in Indianapolis, the top five, like apart from Will Power, the the other championship contenders, Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, Alex Palou, and Pato Award, all had miserable races and finished below P15, below P16, right? So that is the case of IndyCar, and to be consistent is key and is definitely important for the championship hunt.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you just pointed out all of these top five who were in the top five going into this race, they had a terrible weekend, and Colton Herta managed to jump Pato O'Ward, but couldn't manage to jump Scott Dixon, and Scott Dixon jumped both Colton Herta and Pato O'Ward. He might have been ahead of Colton Herta going into the race, but Scott Dixon is now fifth in the championship, and he scored an average of about 28, 26, 27 points every race. Again, Mr. Consistent. All Scott Dixon needs to do is get his qualifying right, and he might be alongside Will Power for this championship.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Scott Dixon once again coming through the field, uh, finishing well. Same with Alexander Rossi. These are the
Yeah, but Alexander Rossi really been that strategy call.
yeah. But then again, these are the established names in IndyCar who have been performing every single season for a while now, and these are the guys that the young generation, like that the likes of Scott McLaughlin, Alex Palou, and Pato Award and Joseph Newgarden are trying to beat. for championships, and Colton Herta obviously. So it would be great to see them compete as well. But yeah, as long as they are doing a good race and recovering whatever they lost in qualifying, it's great to see.
Yeah, and it was so difficult to follow the race on Saturday with so much
Yeah.
happening. Like, you almost forget that Scott Dixon ran out of fuel on pit road, which also set him back a few places. So had he not done that, who knows? Maybe he would have gained like a couple more places. Obviously, that was still early on in the race. That was the first stop, second stop he made, I think. But sometimes we forget all the things that have happened. But last but not the least, for me at least, shout out to Tatiana Calderon, who kept it clean, finished P15, while her teammate Kyle Kirkwood, who is slated to be the rookie of the year at the end of the season, um, you know, finished. I don't even know if he finished or
Yeah,
if he had a
Kirkwood didn't
DNF.
finish. He had
But
a
definitely,
DNF. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that just goes to show what a massive job Tatiana Calderon did yesterday to finish P15. And it'll be interesting to see how a season progresses. Usually we've seen her fighting the likes of Jimmy Johnson towards the back of the field, but this clearly shows that she's got more in the bank and there's more to come from her. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Any last thoughts from you, Vedant, before we wrap up this podcast?
Well, I think it was the first time I clearly saw the IndyCar no blue flags rule coming into play properly. Like, obviously, I've seen it before and I have commented maybe on it before, but Jimmy Johnson was the example last time as well. He is this time as well. Jimmy Johnson was protecting in some way Pato Ward ahead from uh, Simon Pagano behind. So that's very interesting for me. Once again, the no blue flags rule, and even during safety cars, and that the back markers can't overlap, can't go to the lead lap or something. But yeah, definitely.
They can do that. They got waved by yesterday, I think, a couple of times in the race.
Okay, yeah, like, but
Yeah, just something to look
yeah,
out for next time.
I'm
Yeah,
still learning IndyCar. I'm still gathering stuff every single weekend, so it's great fun.
absolutely. Really excited for the Indy 500. Last year, I visited Indy 500. It was a great experience. This year is not the same case. I'll be watching from home, but so excited to see the 500 once again in the month of May. And we also have the Coca-Cola 600 on the same day, so it's going to be a great, great Sunday for me at least.
Yeah.
Be tuned into the TV the entire time. Unfortunately for you, it'll be like Sunday night, late Sunday night. So good luck, Vedant,
Yeah,
once
well,
again, with your endeavors to follow
I don't
IndyCar.
have work on Monday morning. I'm on vacation, so let's see.
Oh,
Hopefully I'll catch the entire 500. But yeah, I don't have a lot of interest in the 600, but let's see.
all right. Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you, Vedant, for joining me once again. It's been a pleasure talking IndyCar with you, and obviously we'll catch you on the next one after the Indy 500. Uh, yeah, see you later.